There was this one time that Adrian really liked to go fishing. He he had his own fishing pole, his own tackle box, and he liked to. We used to live across the street from a pond, and every summer he would go fishing, and then every winter he would go ice skating. But at this time it was summertime, and the pond had been stocked by the local fishing game. And Adrian, the next day, was out there fishing. He just loved to fish. And his grandfather, my father, also, I mean, he loved his grandson, but he also loved to come up and fish as well. So he'd come and visit, and the two of them would go across the street and go fishing. And they'd usually come back with one or two trout or whatever. Well, today, Grandpa had come up and bought him a brand new fishing pole. It was blue. It was kind of a neonish blue. He liked that color a lot, and my dad really made a home run with that one because he bought the exact right color, the exact right kind of fishing pole that Adrian loved. And when they went across the street, I hadn't heard from him for like an hour and a half. Usually, Adrian loves to fish, but at that time, he was probably like 8 or 9 or 10. It couldn't keep his attention for a long time. I mean, he liked to go and he liked to do it, but he didn't like the cleanup. He didn't like when he was done, he had to do a bunch of stuff. So Grandpa was teaching him patience as well as the fishing. And so this one day, usually, like I said, he came back within an hour. Today, and that day, it was 2 hours and I hadn't seen him. And I went back and to go, because the pond was just immediately right across the street from the house. I mean, you could just walk, and not even a minute, and you're there. And when I got there, Adrian was holding a 25-pound trout. And his grandfather was helping him clean it. Now, this is a kid who didn't want to get gross. He didn't want to get dirty. He didn't want to have anything like that at all. When he was a baby, when he had a dirty diaper, he would freak out about the poop in his diaper, and so we had to go and change him immediately. This kid was elbow deep into fish guts, fish blood, fish everywhere. And they had gotten so silly with it that it was all over their face, all over their ears, all over everything. It was like somebody had murdered 50 fish and they were the only two culprits because they were standing right in the middle of it. So as angry as I was because of how disgusting he was, I couldn't help but laugh. My father was very proud of his grandson that day because he definitely learned how to clean and gut a fish, and he didn't learn how to make it clean. He didn't learn how to make it to do it without being messy, but you know, he on his quest to become the #1 fisherman, he took the next step and he learned how to gut a fish, but not without making it look like a murder scene from CSI or something. That was right before my father passed away. They did everything together. Adrian, my father, he would come up. He only lived like a town away, and this is when we lived on the East Coast. And he would come up. They would go fishing. They would go to the mall. They would go to the beach. They would go and they were inseparable when my father was up. And Adrian just looked. I mean, he looked up to me, but he looked up to Grandpa because Grandpa would break rules, and Daddy wouldn't break rules. So one day, though, the day my father died, it was unfortunately it was sudden. It wasn't something that we had seen coming. My father had a seizure, and he fell, and knocked unconscious, and nobody was home, and he died bleeding out. Not the best way to go. Apparently he was alive but unable to make it to the telephone to call for help. When I first heard about it, obviously I was upset. Told my wife, she was upset. Couldn't tell my son. I just couldn't tell my son. I didn't know how. I didn't know how to tell him. He he was so attached to his grandfather that telling him this, especially at the time, I mean, it was right after summer, so he was just starting school, and things were going pretty good with him. It was there was a time where he had been having some seizures from stuff, and apparently it runs in our family, and we had some new medication, and it was really working well. So so everything was going great, but then my father passing away. So basically, I thought really the only way to tell him would be to take him fishing. So I took him and his new pole, and went across the street and went fishing with him one night. It was right after school. I wasn't right after school. It was a little bit after dinner. Kind of wanted to be like a twilight fishing time with him and Dad. And I'm sorry. He knew. He already knew. He had been hiding it from me because he didn't think I knew. He didn't want to upset me. So after I told him and he told me that he knew, we sat there for a while and fished some more and talked about my dad and how good he was and what he did, and I told him some stories about my childhood. And when we were sitting nearby in the dirt, I could see something shiny poking out. And it was a knife. It was one of the cleaning knives that they had used to clean the 25-pound trout. And Adrian told me, he said, that's Grandpa's. He lost it when he was here and he was cleaning the fish. So I took it and went and had it engraved with my father's name and said, to Adrian on it, and gave it to Adrian. And Adrian still has it to this day. Matter of fact, he's put it in a nice glass container and put it on the shelf, and it looks really good. But I'll never forget that day when I thought my son, when I was holding back from him because I didn't think that he could take it, and he was holding back from me because he didn't think I could take it. I miss my father.